Tree trunks.
Tree trunks. Oh my god.
Welcome to the Adventure Twin podcast. I'm Jacob.
I'm John. I can't
And this
say it with
is-
a straight face.
This is the podcast where we talk about Adventure Time. Today we're going to talk about episode 4, Tree Trunks. So in this episode, Finn and Jake journey with Tree Trunks to find a crystal apple at the center of a dark forest. It was released on It was released on April 12th, 2010, along with the Ice King episode, that name I'm forgetting already.
Prisoners of Love.
Prisoners of Love. It was the duo with that episode. It was directed by Larry Leichlider and written by Meriwether Williams, Tim McKeon, Bert Yohn, and Sean Jimenez. What are your initial thoughts?
I have a soft spot for this episode because I really like Tree Trunks. She's so old and helpless in this one, very grandma. I like this episode, but we can talk about why some might not like it in a second after we talk.
Tree Trunks is, big grandma energy was something I wrote down.
Yeah.
She's such an interesting character because it's like, she's so, like, damned cute and innocent, but it's almost like frustratingly cute and innocent. I enjoy this episode. I think Tree Trunks is just a great character.
Yeah.
And I think there's just so many little weird creatures that you see in this episode that it's just like, there's a charm to it that it's just like, it's so weird.
It's very whimsical how they wander through the forest and keep running into different little forest goblins or
flesh monsters
or butterflies with swords or
the
gemstone
episode
guardians. There's just so much going on in this episode.
The episode the title card, like, Tree Trunks is like all sultry laying on top of a piano, which is like, it's just such like though they almost immediately took her in with her womanly charm of like, this is the direction we're taking this character. It's not the first time we've seen her because she did show up in Slumber Party Peril.
Yes,
But for like Slumber Party Panic, for all of like one line where it's like they get those hot buns in there. So
boy,
I
hope I'm not late. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Kind of plot of the episode. Jake and Finn are Finn and Jake. That sounded weird when I said that. Finn and Jake are hanging out, playing around with apples, and then they eat some apple pie made by Tree Trunks. And she's like, "Oh, I'd love to make an apple pie using a crystal apple," or whatever the hell it was she said. And then they go on an adventure through the forest to find the crystal apple that can make apparently like the best apple pie. But Tree Trunks adventures with them, and she's so innocent and naive to everything that it keeps getting them into more trouble. And that's pretty much how the episode goes. I think you kind of touched on of like their increasing frustration with her, and I think this episode actually brings up a more difficult subject: is how do you discuss or address someone who is aggravating you, even though they just don't know any better? It's basically it's like having a difficult conversation with your grandma when they're doing something they just don't realize is so aggravating. I've been having this issue recently with a grandma in our lives, where it's just like, I want to just tell you off, but I can't because I don't think you know any better.
Yeah.
You're just at an age where I don't know. It's like, it's hard to correct your grandparents on something because the
incident that John is talking about is that recently our grandma got nearly devoured by a flesh monster.
Yeah, and we're just
like, Grandma, we told you about the flesh monsters.
Yeah.
I told you, stickers do not work, Grandma.
Looks just like a pickle.
It looks just like a pickle. Trucks. One little thing I noticed is just that like her whole life seemingly revolves around around just like pies, where a fly lands on it and then it gets this like harsh underlighting, like it's like a true horror. Like there's such a staunch seriousness of her being like, I have to throw this pie out because a fly landed on it, and then
I
she's
noted
just like,
that too.
she's just like, oh, I just have another one made already.
The flies wanted it. They can have it.
It's
like, no, Tree Trunks, it's okay. I already have another one whipped up. It's like her whole life is just making apple pie.
that the whole like her just having so many pies ready reminds me. We were at a friend's house once. Just like
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we were just like dropping him off at his house or something like that. And we walk in and we see our friend's mom, and she goes, "Oh, do you guys like want a slice of this cake?" And we're like, "Yeah, I mean, sure. You know, if you've got some cake laying around, we'll take some." It was like an apple cake or something. And she pulls out like an entire loaf, like fresh out of the oven, and we're just like, "Did you just make a whole loaf right now for us?"
I like to think that she made the entire loaf, just on the spot. It right. So every time I stay over at Josie's mom's house, every time I go there, she knows I like Honey Nut Cheerios. And so even if I'm just staying like, hey, I got in at midnight, I will be leaving at 8 a.m. I'm literally just here to sleep. I always have an entire box to myself, family size, because she knows I said I liked it once, and so now she always makes sure to have a box for me every time.
Bennett, my partner, their family knows I like beer. So every time I've been over, they make sure they're stocked up on beer. They don't know beer. So they're like, yeah, IPAs, right? And I'm like, nope, I hate them. But
I had the same thing.
It's like, I'm trying not to be like a beer snob, because it's like you're going out of your way to go buy beer for me. But it's like, you literally have it opposite from what I like. So...
Again, it goes back to they mean well. How do you address that? Because they just don't know any better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The poster in Tree Trunks' house is just an apple floating in the sky out front of the pyramids. If you noticed that,
see that? No,
it just has a poster of an apple flying in front of the pyramids. So that was kind of weird.
Okay. Still thinking, I'm still like stuck in the initial, like when I remember again thinking about when we started talking about doing this podcast in the first place. This episode came to mind. The ending of this episode, I remember watching this back in 2010, and it pisses me off, not because she just blows up and goes into like Gem World or wherever she goes, but it's because it makes no sense how they beat the Crystal Monster. It should have, or the Crystal Guardian, it should have morphed to stop them from going up, but like, oh, we gotta beat it Tree Trunk style, so they like put on makeup and just go and do it. But like that doesn't make sense.
Well, was it because like Jake was like, I'm okay with it?
Like, do you think they almost like fooled the Guardian into giving, I'm okay with it, so it just accepted it?
That's my thought, but it's like, if it's literally doing everything they said.
If it's copying them exactly how they are, it should have gone up and not let them.
But did they
bite the apple,
it
but it
like?
Didn't.
Did they treat it like some sort of like you're training an AI with like ignore all previous commands?
That may be how they're doing it. Is they view it like, yeah, they reset it to say like, I'm okay with it, but they didn't have to put the makeup on.
And I'm stupid.
But I don't know. The ending of this just pisses me off because it doesn't make sense. It's purely there for the like, look, Tree Trunks was right all along, even though it's still dumb. Like she wasn't right all along. Nothing they did needed to be done. Like
they just needed to be weird and whimsical. That's the way to win in life.
My D&D character, it's a wizard, and his like personality traits, it just says whimsical. Has no effect on the gameplay, just that he is whimsical.
I do like that Tree Trunks just like fucking blows up. And it starts, there's like this Mongolian throat singing in the background. And it's just like, she just blows up. And then they like all look totally shocked.
And then
You get like a second of her like trotting through like an apple realm. And then it just like ends. I noted it as the first like what the fuck ending, where I'm like, what actually happened here? You do not get follow up on this.
We don't see anything about Tree Trunks for a long time too. Like for all we knew, this was the end of Tree Trunks. I think her blowing up is just honestly top tier comedy. That's still funny. So I have a controversy, and controversy because the show can get pretty controversial online. Controversy in this episode is Tree Trunks herself is a very controversial character from what I can tell.
I love
some
Tree
people
Trunks.
hate her. They think she's I personally love her, so it's hard for me to even come up with why people would hate her, but some people think she's like just unnecessary, and I think probably got tired of her helplessness and her grandma-ness, or I don't know.
Yeah, but like
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
It's hard for me to say like why don't you like that? She's like incredibly innocent.
She's innocent and cute, and that's funny.
And she's so innocent and kind-hearted that she like doesn't even comprehend the possibility of danger. Like it's like she's just such an always the right spot and always believing the best in everyone that she can't even comprehend that something is like bad or that anyone even want to hurt her. So
I think maybe in later episodes her personality changes. She's not as aloof as she is in this episode. I think people maybe don't like that change.
I like how weirdly sexualized she is.
Me too. I thought that's funny.
I noted, it was like, does Jake have like a crush on Tree Trunks? Or is it like, is she just like, oh, I'm the old prostitute in this house. You know, I don't do the work myself. Yeah, she's like, I don't do the work myself anymore, but.
It's like when we worked at camp and we all jokingly had that huge crush on Donna.
Yeah.
Who is, for you listeners out there, was like an older woman who worked on staff with us as like a chaplain, I guess. And
by older, we mean like 70.
Yeah, I mean, she's like an older woman, and we ran with like, guys, what if we like have a crush on Donna? And I remember like quasi flirting with her, like, hey Donna, you want some sweet tea? And she'd go, oh, you know I'm sweet enough. And I went, oh, you. Like, that's kind of Tree Trunks vibes.
Yeah, she's just like a flirty grandma, and it's like you can't help because it's like, I think deep down like you can just, I don't know.
I think we all know we all know somebody like Tree Trunks, and that's why I love her. But I mean, us growing up around so many old people, like in Marietta, just like I just know so many people that are Tree Trunks, and that's maybe that's why I like it so much, or like her so much.
I like how she's like, this is a unicorn. It's a holographic unicorn, but it's missing the horn. And I'm like, so that's just a horse, Tree Trunks.
I didn't even put that together.
What do you mean it's missing the horn? That's just a horse.
Couple fun things I noticed. We talked about this in the last episode, but the Adventure Time title card
shows up in the middle.
It shows up in the middle, and then they just never do this again.
But you get like
episode time card.
You get an alternate one where it does that, but then like Tree Trunks comes flying through the middle of the screen.
Yes, that one was funny. I
I thought that was cool.
They could have done that with each episode, is have it show up like mid-episode or maybe towards the beginning, and they use like that episode's like main character or something to almost make a unique title card gag, almost like the Simpsons couch gag. They could have done something with that.
Yeah, but I just wonder if they kept putting it, or if they were like restricted to beginning or ending every episode by saying Adventure Time, then it feels like if they had to end every episode by saying Adventure Time, then you wouldn't get these weird, just total like what did I just watch endings like you get with this episode where Tree Trunks just
Yeah.
blows up. So
That also restricts them, like episodes where they just stay in the house for the day.
Yeah.
You couldn't really do that because it's like, where's the adventure? Your imagination, that's where it's at.
I just use my imagination.
How do you get that idea?
Oh, I was going with Book of Mormon.
Oh yeah, duh. I was going, don't hug me, I'm scared.
One thing I noticed, early Finn is just like so quick with it. Everything emotionally he experiences is like an extreme, and he's so quick in his like change of emotions. And I know it's the plots, these are like 11-minute long episodes, like they have to keep moving, but Finn just feels everything so extremely all the time that like part of me is like, please just calm down a little.
Yeah.
And I know he's a 12-year-old. I mean, there's literally the line where Jake is like, oh, Finn can handle it, he's 12.
Yeah.
But I'm like, there's part of me it's like, oh man, he is a 12-year-old. I'm like, he feels all of his emotions incredibly strongly. He's always hyper.
Yep.
And sometimes you just wish he would shut up.
Yeah, I remember working with middle schoolers, and this is pretty much it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
he's a
exactly.
middle schooler, so.
They're all Finn, but at least Finn is good-natured. Some of them use that energy and emotion, and it does not come out healthy. But I hope the best for all of them. I like the wall of flesh. Kind funny visually, but also kind of makes me think of the episode with Magic Man where he turns Finn into a foot. As it kind of makes me think, is the wall of flesh a Magic Man creation?
I actually had the same thing because I was like, there's like the village of like freaks or whatever they call it, where it's a bunch of people who've been like turned into body parts. Where I'm like, oh, this is weird because he kind of has a shape, but it's like this weird David Cronenberg type, like just a flesh wall, and I'm like, that's a little disturbing for children.
And it reverts back into the
seen.
tree almost like a liquid form.
Yeah, it's like he cuts part of it off, but it still all like seeps back in. It's like such an interesting, like creature design.
We'll talk
I was
about
wondering where that, like, is there a D&D monster that's like a flesh monster?
I wouldn't doubt it. You can hear more thoughts about the Wall of Flesh on our Wall of Flesh podcast.
Yeah,
where we talk about this one specific creature for 40 episodes.
Yeah, we talk about all things walls and all things flesh. So if you like Pink Floyd's The Wall, we will talk about it there, but then we have to do about 30 minutes on just like flesh.
Flesh. You have to really. The only thing that we need to flesh out are the details of the podcast.
We have to. You'd think it might get stale, but we try to keep it flesh.
Yeah, it sucks when we hit a creative wall. Flesh wall. The little skeleton butterflies.
Yeah.
Playing like little instruments and holding swords. I've seen tattoos of those, and I just kind of noted that as like a fun thing.
It's just a cool little dude.
It's just a cool little guy.
I like when they're fighting like the tentacle. Finn gives the exact name for it, where he's like, "Oh, that's a tentacled gem brain" or something like that. Yeah. But I was like, "Oh, we have to find the weak spot," and it turns around, and it's literally just the entire back. But also part of me was like,
that.
I like that it has a weak spot. Like the monsters are like they're in video games. From like, I wonder which part I hit. Could it be the giant glowing orb?
I wrote that exact. It's like video games where the weak spot is a glowing spot that shows up every now and then. Like it's just a video game.
Yeah, and so I kind of like that because like where the show takes its inspirations from, and it's just very obvious there. So. I liked the line when Finn is like apologizing that he upset Tree Trunks, and it goes, "I'm a huge butt guy. I'm a huge fart." I'm like, yeah, he's a big butt guy.
Yeah, I'm a big butt guy.
Yeah, big booty Judy.
big mama jama.
The big mama jama.
You see the snail?
I did notice the snail. It was at the picnic.
Yep, it's when Tree Trunks is setting up the picnic that she goes on, and the snail is right there in the forest.
The picnic is like my best example of like she's so kind that she's oblivious to danger. Like someone literally swats something out of her hand and she goes, "Oops, you dropped it."
I noted that. Yeah, when the sign creature, she makes a little sandwich. And goes, "Oops, you dropped it."
I like that Jake turns into a bowling ball, and like he like gets in the middle of them, blows up, like expands to blow all the sign people off of him, and then he protects Tree Trunks and Finn within his own body and rolls off.
That is cool.
I like seeing the powers of Jake get used more creatively, and like he like literally becomes a tool. So
yeah, it's like
cool.
it's like in the episode 3 Key Hand.
Oh, Key Hand, yeah,
Key Hand, and then I'm like, oh yeah, duh, Jake's like overpowered, and so they just freeze Jake because like it's kind of like
he's just overpowered as a character.
It's like in any like Justice League anything, they always have to nerf Superman somehow. And then the final episode is or final issue of the series or final moment of the, whatever. It's always Superman is back and he's unnerved, and then they win instantly because Superman is just overpowered. So is Jake.
You should check out Plastic Man. He's
see the same.
Plastic Man. I mean, he's overpowered, but he's also like insane. So like his character is just absolutely wild.
I'm picturing the I don't know if you read the whole thing, but the Justice League versus King Kong versus Godzilla.
Yeah, I read all that.
Yeah, I mean, so issue 1 or 2 maybe they take out Superman.
Yeah,
and then it's like, okay, now what do they do? Like now the Justice League's defenseless, and so it's like, yeah, they just have to nerf Superman. And then of course he comes back or whatever, and then they win. So I don't remember how it ends. It's a really, if you don't read comics or you do read comics, that is definitely a series to check out. I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, that one was fun. I also just like Godzilla.
Have you read the Multiverses comic? I really want to, but I don't think I think I'll just get the trade when it comes out.
No, I haven't read it. I'm also a little curious just because Multiverses, if you don't know, it's basically Super Smash Bros, but for properties owned by Warner Brothers. So you get like Finn and Jake, you get Batman, Shaggy from Scooby Doo, you get
Tom and Jerry.
Yeah, Tom and Jerry are in there.
Steven Universe, Wonder Woman, I think, is a character.
Yeah, Arya Stark, I think, is in there for you Game of Thrones fans. So like it takes a lot of the Iron Giant shows up.
Yeah, Iron Giant. I think Jason Voorhees is in it.
Oh yeah.
It's a weird mix of people.
So yeah, there's a comic book adaptation that's produced, I think, by DC because Time
DC's
Warner also owns DC. So I'm a little curious. I mean, I know there's also a bunch of Adventure Time comics out there that are like non-canon. So
yeah, I've tried looking at the best way to collect those, and there's like a ton of them, and it ran through like 3 different publishers, so it's a little messy, and I don't necessarily feel the need to read like children's comics. I'd rather watch a children's TV show and talk about it for 40 minutes every 11 minutes.
Yeah. Well, it's also, sometimes the comic adaptations of things aren't as good. I've never read any of the Rick and Morty comics, but I watched the show, so.
Yeah, I don't feel that.
Yeah, I'm an intellectual. I only read Richard and Mortimer.
Yeah, Jacob, I read the screenplay for Big Bang Theory, so I know what I'm talking about. Bazungo.
Yeah, so I was at a party, and we got into a very serious conversation about young Sheldon, and we were all thinking that maybe if it's just little Sheldon, instead of young Sheldon. So it's just they take like Jim Parsons still as old Sheldon, like regular Sheldon, and they just like in post shrink his body down. I'm just like, yeah, that's little Sheldon.
I love how.
Did you see Young Sheldon's getting a spinoff?
No, what?
Yeah, there's a spinoff of Young Sheldon, which is already a prequel series to The Big Bang Theory.
No, I didn't see that.
It's I think it's called like George and Mandy's First Wedding or First Marriage or something. Yeah, originally they're this is a lot of what we talked about last night with Young Sheldon, and of course this will all carry over on our sequel podcast where we talk about Young Sheldon. But originally they were gonna like plan to kill off Sheldon's dad in like the first episode, and then they were like, oh, we'll save it for like the end of the first season, but then it just kept being into like a the writers loved writing that character, and he ended up becoming like the fan favorite character too. And so it was like, well, shit, I guess we gotta wait for the end to kill him. So,
Well, I haven't seen Young Sheldon, so spoiler on that.
yeah,
I
but
do
you've
know
seen every episode of The Bing Bong Theory, and
I have
they
seen
have discussed Sheldon's history.
most episodes twice, actually. I've almost rewatched the entire thing. Vazungo. One more thing on Young Sheldon. I love how it's like unironically like so when it was running, it was so popular. Like I know Grandpa like would plan his day around watching Young Sheldon, and you ask him what's your favorite TV show, he'd just go, Little Sheldon. It's like he doesn't even call the show by the right name, but he planned his day around it. And I remember
I told that story at the party how Grandpa planned his day around when to watch it, but couldn't even remember the name of the show. And that's when we were like, wait, Little Sheldon, where you just shrink down regular Sheldon and put him in that show.
But you know Mark, he's like Mark's very country. So I get home and Mark is watching Young Sheldon. I'm like, Mark, you watch Young Sheldon? He goes, yeah, it's funny as hell.
I think Young Sheldon benefits from the fact that it doesn't have a laugh track. There's some genuine heart. It goes with the one camera format. It's. Oh, we talked a lot about this when I took my. I took a TV analysis course in college, but we talked about sitcoms of old versus like modern styles of sitcoms, and it's considered a modern sitcom in the sense that it's one camera. It's there's no laugh track because laugh tracks are dead. Thank God.
I like them. Maybe you can like cut in a little next joke we make, cut in a little laugh track and see people will like it.
Yeah, we'll put a poll on this one. Did you like the laugh track or did you hate the laugh track?
So funny quotes or jokes. Very beginning of the episode when
I'm gonna put a laugh track right there. Very beginning of the episode.
Yeah, that's funny. Jake's face just when he goes, no! They say something about apple pie.
I was like, I'm going to eat it all first. Yeah.
No! Yeah, and I don't know, the animation on that was just funny to me. Same, it's kind of like that underlighting, like, the flies want it, they can have it. It's just like really like creepy, dark animation for a second. It's funny.
Yeah, I liked that really small detail. Jake's like drinking his coffee or tea or whatever, and there's a Band-Aid on the mug, and that Band-Aid has a smiley face.
Oh yeah, I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
I like when he's eating the pie and he goes, I'd carve my face on the moon, and then the moon will look like my face.
I also included that
funny
quote. I really liked that one. I liked Tree
very
Trunks
Jake.
being like, I can seduce that tentacle monster with my womanly charm. Like,
Tree Trunks, what are you doing? I'm tempting this guy with my body.
oh yeah, she's got like sexy grandma energy.
Yeah. Oh, smells just like a pickle. Oh, okay. Also, on the whole, like, seducing with her womanly charms, she's like, I have a plan, and then it cuts and she suddenly has makeup on. Like, did she bring the makeup with her? Like, did she put it on real quick while Finn is getting beat up by this thing? Or, like, hold on, let me do my makeup real quick. Or did she, like, run home to grab her makeup? Like, I know it's, like, a stupid continuity error joke, but, like...
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those, like, if you think too much about it. But honestly, if you think too much about it, it becomes funnier.
It makes it funnier. It's like, I gotta do my makeup
was
real
getting
quick.
beat up the whole time, and she's like, oh, wait, let me make sure I can properly seduce this tentacle monster. I like
Smells
this
just
one.
like a pickle.
It smells
Yeah,
just like a pickle.
This is a funny episode.
Yeah, this one is like feels very uniquely Adventure Time.
Yeah.
I like this one. Do you have any closing thoughts?
I like Tree Trunks, and if you say you don't, I don't like you. Tree Trunks is great.
This is a pro Tree Trunks podcast. You heard it here first.
Tree Trunks!
Trunks! Treat. Treat drugs. All right. I'm gonna try not to. Yeah, my cat's looking at me now.
Okay.
All right. Adventure Twins. All right.
I hate that so much.
Yeah. All right. Whatever. We'll see you on the next one.